Welcome back to the boy at the back of the class. Chapter 16, The Royal Letter. It's brilliant! Genius! If that doesn't work, then nothing will. Michael, Tom and Josie all looked pretty impressed when I explained the greatest idea in the world to them on the bus to school the next day. Tom looked down at my diagram and eagerly pointed to the letter and pencil. "This bit's easy," he said, "but do you think she'll really get it?" I nodded. "She has to. It's the Royal Mail, so she has to get all her letters. It's the law." "But she's the Queen. What if she's not home because she's somewhere else doing her duties and things and doesn't get it in time?" asked Michael. "It's already Friday, remember?" Michael was right. The greatest idea in the world would only work if the Queen was at home. She was always on the news, going to lots of places to collect flowers from people, and I hadn't thought about what we would do if she didn't get the letter at all. "It's okay," said Josie reassuringly. "If we post the letter today, then it'll get to her house by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's only Saturday, and the gates don't close until next Friday. That gives us 6 whole days, so if she's not home, her butler will just open the letter instead, and he'll let her know that she needs to come home right away to talk to the special police and the Prime Minister." "Yes," said Michael. "Exactly." "Yeah, it's going to be brilliant," said Tom, as we jumped off the bus and walked to the school gates. "There's no way she won't help us, not after she reads about Ahmet." "But he mustn't find out," said Michael, tripping over his shoelaces, but too excited to stop and tie them up. "Yeah," I nodded. "He can't know. Not until we're really sure that the Queen has found his parents." "Don't worry, we can keep it a secret, and maybe if it does work, then we'll all get to meet the Queen," grinned Tom. "I'd have to get more gel if we do," he added, stiffening his hair with his fingers so it was spikier than ever. "Maybe we'll all get a medal for helping to keep the gates open," said Josie, kicking her football along. "And Ahmet too, for being so brave." Michael smiled. His smile always goes to one side when he's thinking about something that makes him really, really happy. It must be because he's so happy that his mouth doesn't know which way to go. "Yeah," he nodded. "One of those star-shaped medals. And if we did get one, we could pin it on our jumpers every day, or if it's on a ribbon, we could wear it around our necks," he said, touching the collar of his school jumper. I tried to imagine what it would be like to meet the Queen and to be given a star-shaped medal, but the thought made my mind go blank, and I couldn't imagine anything at all. Sometimes a thought is so big that it can't squeeze all of itself into my head no matter how hard I try, and the more I try, the more it makes my head ache. Uncle Lenny said that's where headaches come from, when you've tried to think too many thoughts, or a giant thought tries to get in, but it's too big to fit. He gets headaches all the time, because he says when there's no one in the taxi with him, he doesn't have anything else to do but drive around all night and think deep thoughts that light up his mind. Maybe that's why the front of his head is always so shiny. I didn't want to get a headache, so I left the thought of the star-shaped medal alone. Later that day, whenever we knew Ahmet couldn't hear us, we talked about the greatest idea in the world, and all the ways the Queen might help him and his family too. Ahmet caught us whispering together in the playground, though, and looked at us in a confused way. "What are you saying?" he asked, looking at all of us. "Nothing," said Michael nervously. "We were just talking about homework," said Josie. "Big homework," I added, quickly crossing my fingers behind my back. "Your homework is small and easy, see? Ours is big and lots more." "Okay," Ahmet said slowly, but I don't think he sounded like he believed us. After that, we all whispered an agreement not to speak about the plan until home time, which was when we planned to write the royal letter. But it seemed that the more excited we got about putting the greatest idea in the world into action, the longer it took for the day to pass, and that afternoon felt like the longest afternoon any of us had ever had. I kept looking up at the classroom clock to see if its hands had moved, and I could see Tom and Michael and Josie were doing the same thing. And then finally, just as we were about to give up hope of them reaching 3:15, the school bell rang for home time, and Mrs. Khan said, "Right, everyone, off you go. See you all on Monday." We all hurriedly waved bye to Ahmet, and instead of going with him to meet his foster mum like we usually did, we ran to the bus stop just as fast as we could. There's a wall behind the bus stop, just long enough to fit 5 people. After we sat down, Josie gave me a piece of yellow paper she had taken from her class tray, and which was brand new, and Tom gave me his very best handwriting pen to use, and Michael gave me his workbook to lean on. He guessed we would have to miss 2 buses home, but it didn't matter. Not when we were trying to write the most royal letter any of us had ever written before. Everyone said I should write it because I was the best at spelling. I was pretty nervous, but Tom and Josie and Michael all helped me choose what to say, so in the end it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. This is what the royal letter looked like. Your Royal Majesty of the United Queendom of England. Please, Mrs. Majesty, there's a new boy in our class called Ahmet, and he's a refugee boy from Syria, where there is a war and lots of bullies throwing bombs and hurting people. Ahmet had to get on a boat and walked a long way to come to our school, and had to leave Mum and Dad behind in tents too. Ahmet needs to find them before the government closes all the gates. We thought because you own the country, and the police and the Prime Minister has to listen to you, that you could please ask your special police and the Prime Minister to keep all the gates open and help Ahmet find his family. We know the gates will close on Friday, so this is an emergency. You can find us at Nelson Primary School, and Mrs. Khan is our teacher, and Miss Hempsey is Ahmet's special teacher. Please let us know if you can help as soon as you get this letter. Love from me, 9 3/4, Tom 9, Michael 9 1/2, and Josie 9 1/4. When we had finished, Michael held it up to the light and gave it a nod. I don't really know why people like holding things up to the light, but I guess it's because they want to see through them and make sure they're okay. I was glad because even though my writing had gone wonky, everyone said it looked good. It was the longest letter I'd ever written in one go, and my hand felt sore, so I jumped off the wall and jiggled it about. In the distance, I could see the bus coming. Have you got a new envelope to put it in, and stamps? Asked Tom nervously, as we got onto the bus. Yeah, Mum's got loads, I said. I'll post it by 5 o'clock from the postbox in front of my flat. Don't forget to write special letter on the envelope. In purple colouring pen, said Josie. Purple's her favourite colour. And make sure the stamp says first on it, said Michael. When I got home that afternoon, while Mrs. Abbey was making me fish fingers for my tea, I quietly pulled open the big top drawer in the large chest standing in our living room. This drawer is called our used less things drawer because it's always full of things we have lots of but hardly ever use, like paper clips and spare staples and elastic bands and sellotape and bright yellow post-it notes and bits of blank paper. I found an envelope and then carefully took out Mum's small wooden stamp box. Inside it are all the nearly new stamps that Mum's collected from letters she's been sent in the post. Most stamps are marked with something called a postmark, which means you can't use them again, but sometimes they aren't. When that happens, Mum claps her hands like it's Christmas morning, carefully peels the stamp away so that it looks just as brand new as possible, and puts it in her stamp box. I picked out 3 that had the nicest pictures with the colour purple in them and a first in the corner. I knew that most letters had just 1 stamp on them, but I thought 3 might make the letter get to the Queen faster, especially since there was a chance I might miss the 5 o'clock post. Trying to keep things a secret when there's a grown-up around always makes everything take twice as long. I told Mrs. Abbey I was doing my homework early and coloured in lots of purple swirls on the front of the envelope, and then, just before I put the letter inside, I thought the Queen should know about Ahmet's sister in the sea, so I wrote, P.S. Ahmet had a little sister called Sira, but she died in the sea, so he needs to find his mum and dad even more specially. Please keep this a secret. I knew what had happened to Ahmet's sister was a secret, but last year Mr. Thompson told us that the Queen has to keep state secrets, and if she can keep secrets about the state of everything, I knew she could keep Ahmet's secret safe for him too. Chapter 17. The Emergency Plan. After I had posted the letter, I felt as if 1,000 worms and butterflies and frogs had all jumped into my tummy and were wriggling and squirming and hopping around together. I was too excited to finish my chocolate chip cookies and glass of milk, which are my favourite Friday treats. When Mum got home, she kept looking at me and putting her hand on my head to see if I was feeling ill. I wanted more than anything to tell her about the greatest idea in the world, but we had all agreed to keep it a secret, and I thought it'd be more fun to surprise Mum with it all later. I spent the whole weekend trying to stay as quiet as I could in case my mouth said something when I wasn't paying attention, and even when Mum took me to a farm to see goats and donkeys and rabbits for our Sunday adventure, I couldn't help thinking about the Queen, and if she'd got an letter yet. The whole weekend seemed to take forever to finish, but just when I thought it never would, Monday morning finally arrived. When I got to the bus stop, Tom and Josie and Michael were all waiting. She must have read it by now, said Michael, bumping into a lamppost in his excitement. We all paused as he quickly regained his balance and put his glasses straight. And I bet her special policemen are looking for Ahmet's family already, said Josie, starting to half skip and half walk again, bouncing her football up and down with a loud twang. Yeah, I bet they're jumping from special planes right now to find all of them, said Tom, gripping the straps of his rucksack, as if it really were a parachute. We were still chatting excitedly when we got onto the bus and spent the whole journey imagining what else the Queen might be doing to help Ahmet. But Monday passed, and even though I looked up at Mrs. Khan after every break time hoping she had something special to say, there was no sign of that anything had happened at all. Miss Hempsey looked normal too, and when we asked Ahmet if anything exciting had happened to him, he looked puzzled and said, "Bag not smell anymore, look," before opening his rucksack and inviting each of us to smell it. On Tuesday it was the same, except this time all of us were feeling more worried than excited, and the worms and butterflies and frogs in my tummy were starting to make me feel sick. "What if she never got the letter?" whispered Josie, as we were all making a drawing of different planets in the solar system. "What if it got lost in the post?" "I don't know," I whispered back, because I really didn't. "We'll have to think of something else," said Tom, glancing around to make sure Mrs. Khan wasn't looking. "We've only got 3 days left until the gates close." "Tom, back to work, please," ordered Mrs. Khan, looking our way. We all quickly put our heads down low. I snuck a look over my shoulder at Ahmet, who was busy colouring in a large orange circle that was obviously Mars. Tom was right. For whatever reason, the Queen wasn't helping us. We needed to think of something else. We needed an emergency plan. I looked at my half-finished drawing of the planet Earth and, turning it over, decided to draw out an emergency plan instead. While everyone else copied out facts about their planets to learn off by heart, I stared at the emergency plan and wondered if it would work. I wasn't sure that it would, but Dad always said that you could only ever know something would work or not after you tried it out first. That afternoon on the bus home, I showed the others my emergency plan. Josie looked at me and, placing her football underneath her chin, shook her head. "That's crazy." "Yeah, we can't do that. We'd get detentions for a year," said Tom. "It's the only way," I said, looking at it carefully. This is what the plan looked like. Us. Train. Taxi. Buckingham Palace. Special note for the Queen. Special policeman. Tea with the Queen. Ahmet's dad and mum. Michael shook his head. "We'll get expelled," he whispered, looking around the bus to make sure no one had overheard anything. "No, we won't," I said. I tried to sound more sure. "The special police would never let us in to see her," said Michael. "They will when I explain everything," I said. "We'll go when she's having her tea. That way we can be sure she's in." Everyone fell silent. I could tell they were all thinking extra hard, because Josie was biting her bottom lip, and Tom looking down at his tie with a frown, and Michael was tapping a finger on the lens of his glasses. After a few seconds, Tom looked up and said, "How will we afford the tube ticket?" "It's okay," I said, leaning in. "I've got some pocket money saved up." "How much have you got?" asked Josie. £4.55, I whispered, so that no one on the bus would hear. It would have been more, but I bought some extra sweets last week. "That's not enough for a ticket," tutted Michael. "I've got £11.32 at home we can use." "I'll bring all my pocket money too," said Josie. "Me too," said Tom, "and all my brothers." "But how are we going to get the tube tickets?" asked Michael. "Won't the ticket officer tell the police on us if they see us without a grown-up?" "We won't go to the ticket office. We'll just get them from the ticket machines," I said. "I know how to use them. Mum shows me how to buy tickets all the time when we go on our adventures." "Cool," said Josie, looking more sure. "So, shall we do it tomorrow then?" I whispered. Josie nodded and twirled the football around between her fingers. Michael looked around and, pushing up his glasses, gave a nod too, and Tom looked over at Josie and Michael before giving me a thumbs up. "Okay," I said, as I tapped the end of my pencil against my cheek and looked at the plan again. "I'll get some tea bags, just in case she's not expecting us, and runs out." "I'll get some biscuits," promised Tom. "I'll bring as much pocket money as I can," said Michael. "And maybe we can all get a gift for the Queen," added Josie. "You know, to make her want to help us." "Should we wear anything special?" asked Tom. "Don't people get dressed up when they're meeting the Queen, like hats and dresses and crowns and things? Maybe we should put on our best clothes underneath our uniforms." "Yeah, that's a brilliant idea," I said, "and we can get changed in the toilets at the palace." "Hold on," Michael looked at us, his large eyes even rounder and wider. "We can't all go, can we? Mrs. Khan won't believe us if we say we're all sick on the exact same day, and what if she calls our parents?" Everyone fell quiet again. We all wanted to go and see the Queen together, but Michael was right. After a few seconds, Josie said, "I can stay behind. My parents don't like me being friends with Armour anyway. They'd probably get really mad if they found out I ran away from school for him." "Let me go," said Tom. "My uncle's a policeman in New York and says 411 and Tango Fox Chicken and things, so I can talk to the Queen's Special Police." Michael sighed. "Okay, so I'll stay too, even though I've always wanted to meet the Queen." "Okay then, Tom will come with me," I said. "Quick, it's our stop," cried out Joseph, frantically pushing the bell. Later that night, as I got ready for bed, I wondered what Dad would have said if he knew I was going on an adventure to try and meet the Queen. I think he would have put on a record and danced around the living room, just like he did whenever he was really happy. The last thought made all the worms and frogs and butterflies in my tummy settle down and helped me fall into a deep sleep, filled with dreams of my dad dancing with the Queen.